I want to right every wrong.
Together as one, we can right every wrong.
I want to right every wrong.
Together as one,
We can right every wrong.
I want to right every wrong. And together as one, we all can right every wrong.
I want to right every wrong.
Together as one, we can right every wrong.
I want to right every wrong, and together as one, we can right every wrong.
I want to right every wrong.
And together as one, we can right every wrong.
I want to right every wrong. Together as one, we can right every wrong.
Hi, I'm Tavleen Mendirata and I'm a Rex Karmaveer Global Fellow.
I'm Dr. Meenu Chopra and I'm a Rex Fellow.
Hi, I'm Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj. I'm a Rex Fellow.
My name is Ishita Katyal. I am a Rex Fellow.
Our first speaker today is Bhattacharya. Rwitwika is going to speak about the shifting tide of Indian democracy. I hope it's shifting. I don't see democracy much in India.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. One of the great things that I noticed yesterday and today was how this is a community of problem solvers. So that's always so wonderful to see that rather than just proposing problems, there's so many people fighting. So let me just give you a little bit of background about what I do and why I feel like tides are shifting. I am the CEO of Swachh Initiative, and what we do is we work with members of parliaments and we work with them with their constituency development. So a few years ago, I think I was speaking with MP, and it was right after his election campaign, and we were talking about why he thinks he's going to lose the election. So he said, right at the beginning of election, I was holding a rally, and it was an open session where everyone was talking, and one of the persons raised their hand and said, MP Saaf, you're going to run for election again. But I actually applied for Manrega and I hadn't worked for more than 3 days this year. So why should I re-elect you when in fact you haven't done anything for me? So the MP said, I looked back at him and that was the defining point. I knew at that point that I would not win the election. So I said, why do you think that? I mean, usually people are pretty confident, and he had been an MP for 3 terms sitting, and he said, today, fundamentally, you have to deliver to people. At the end of 5 years, you didn't, before you could get away, you had your voting groups and you knew how to basically get elections going. Today, you have to deliver to people. And so what's fascinating, and in my work, what I've seen consistently, has been that people's expectations from elected representatives have just changed so drastically. That when I say the shifting tide, what I fundamentally mean is that today you no longer can sit in office and expect to just kind of get re-elected because you're going back to those same groups over and over again, but that the voter has become much smarter. And when I say voter, I don't mean you and I mean everyone, especially people at the base of the pyramid. They're very much bottom line oriented and they say, what is it that you can do for me? So what that leads me to is fundamentally what I do, which is Swachh Initiative is a non-profit. We work with members of parliaments and we try to work within the system to try and improve it. So what we say is we go to an MP and we say, what is it that you want to improve in your constituency? Tell us from a vision perspective. And we will come in and we will try and give you several resolutions and we will go one step further and we'll actually try and implement it as well. And so what has happened in the last few years has just been fascinating. Even before this election versus after this election. What has happened is that you had MPs who were kind of like, we'll figure it out, by the end of 5 years, I have 5 years. Now it's very fascinating to see. Now you actually have MPs who are like, can you give me a constituency management plan? Tell me what will happen in 5 years. Tell me what I can go back to the electorate and basically say to him after 5 years. And a particularly fascinating story is here. We had one person we were working with. And this was within 3 months of him winning the last election. He basically came in and he said, we said, what is it that you want to do in your constituency? And he said, one thing that I'm wondering about, can you work with 13 to 18-year-old students? I'm like, 13 to 18-year-olds, I've never heard this, they're not voters. What is your voting age? He said, next election they will turn voters. And I know I will lose 5 lakh votes by virtue of being an incumbent. So can you go ahead and capture that voter base for me right now so I can say, I've worked for you for 4 years, give me that vote now. And so that fundamental shift in thinking that now I have to deliver is something which is just fascinating. fascinating to see every day, and it's becoming increasingly so. So I'm not sure where I'm on time, but what I'll do is I'll kind of in very short say what else we do. So ultimately, we're working with over 90 MPs at this point in time, and our numbers are growing very quickly. And these are people who approached us. We don't typically approach MPs. And what is within these three things, we do three different things. One is we actually go into the constituency, like I mentioned to you. The second thing is we actually provide research support to members of parliaments, which is that we've heard about Digital India, and we hear about so many Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao as being one of the campaigns. And this all seems like rhetoric. So our goal is to decipher it and fundamentally go to elected officials and say, this is what the paper says, this is what you can do. And then the last piece, which is what we do, is we try to decipher data. One of the great points which was raised is it's not about data. It's basically about what can be done about it. So our focus is very much to look at the hardcore data and say this is what is going on. And as a next step, this is what you can do about it to fix it. So those are fundamentally three areas in which we work. I might have gone under time, but I figured that's the crux of it.
So I like what Rwitwika said, and I do agree with part of what she said, that the Indian has become wiser. I wouldn't just say smarter. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions, including Mr. Narendra Modi, that he won the elections. He did not win the elections. The public won the elections for the first time. But for the first time, the public exercised wisdom. They said, between the devil, the deep sea, and the revenue, we will choose the devil because at least we can. Yeah? Because if you fall into the deep sea, you will drown. If you fall into the revenue, you will die. Yeah? So that's how they chose Modi. Because Congress was not delivering. Aam Aadmi Party would take us 50 years behind nationally. Again, Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi did not win because they are doing something great. They won because Modi did not deliver. And that's the part where I don't agree that, once they win the elections, they forget that they have to deliver. The humility goes for a toss because they surround themselves with psychophants who don't tell them that they have to deliver results. So I'll open the floor for questions with that. Yes, ma'am.
I actually agree with you. My question was that now the MPs are asking for the stats and the data. Is it because of the fear of losing the weight, or is it with the intention to serve and understand the problem better? Like, what do you feel? Because you work closely with them.
Very honest too. I don't see a difference in the problem. It's always the bottom line gets benefited, people get services, we do whatever we want to do motivation.
But then if they're actually asking for the fear of losing weight, is that not really, does that really mean shift in democracy? The idea is still not to serve.
So you see, the fundamental shift is that, I'll tell you what has happened. Let me share actually a narrative with what you were saying along the lines of how people want, right? I come from Bengal, originally from Bengal. Bengal municipal elections were a few years ago, and I got to see it very closely. Sorry, Bengal Panchayat elections were a few years ago. And in Panchayat, what they did was, they basically said, all the kind of Congress guys said that you either get 500 rupees or you go ahead and get 2 kilos of mutton. That was how they bought the vote. Okay? And so everyone, this guy, the candidates who were selling the mutton on the road, ended up running out of mutton, running out of vote. Every single Congress guy lost. Which is fabulous because people went out and voted for who they wanted, but they lost the money in the process. And so what has happened is that, to answer your question fundamentally in regards to what the intent or the motivation was, I think what is fascinating is that the recognition that you can no longer employ these methods to get what you want, and you need to change your game, you need to focus on governance, is something which is a game changer. That's something which is fascinating, which used to never happen. You used to give your mutton, you used to give your 500 rupees before the election is in. And so that, I think, is what the fundamental shift is. Motivation.
Basically, we're at the first step, but it's a long way to go.
Alright, we'll time out on that. Yeah. Yes, Professor Bhattacharya, please keep it brief.
Since the MP was trying to motivate 13 to 18 years of the children, number one, and number two, you have only covered 1/6 of the MPs. Third is, did you try to convince the people and the MPs that the voting rights should be from the age of 21 instead of 18? Because up to 21, one cannot make their career. This is what I have pointed out in the reform bill. Did they agree to it that the voting age should come back to 21 instead of 18?
Alright, so thank you, Professor Bhattacharya. I promise you, 18-year-olds are wiser than a lot of executives and people who just vote for the sake of it. Yeah, thank you.
have two questions to you. So far, just think of my age, so far I have gathered many experiences that almost all MPs are the puppet of their political parties and they follow their political line. This is the first thing. And the second thing, politicians think that they know better everything than any other else. So I don't know how at this age you are trying to breaking dust and you have been able to motivate 19 MPs to share their ideas with you. It is really exciting.
Thank you, Prince. Yes, ma'am.
Great initiative. I would like to know about the challenges that your organization faces in doing the work that you do. Yeah, so I think it's two things that the challenges is on. The whole idea, like the demand is far more than we can support actually. So if you were to assess how many MPs actively want to develop their constituency, it would be probably somewhere around half. These are people who say, I have an idea, I'll help you, I'll connect you. And in regards to another challenge, which is internal, which is for us to find committed professionals. We're very picky in terms of who we work with, but we able to kind of find committed professionals who we work with and who take pride with. That's something which we're working on in terms of building that strength. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Dhruvi. A very basic question is that there's no data available at any constituency in the amount of progress that has happened in the 5 years. Why would an MP not use that data as a starting point to review his own performance? Because that's a direct indication of the perceptions of the community as well. People know that Narega has happened, hasn't happened, based on the data that is available. So why would an MP not look at that data?
So you see, that's where the mind shift is coming about, right? Because MPs, if you even look back 10 years, they really care about data. Like what data? What are you talking about? I know my constituency much better than any data point would tell you. So I think when it comes to data, this is still a fairly new concept. There's data available at a district level, but constituency level it gets very tricky because multiple times districts come together to form constituencies. So data is still a relatively new concept for MPs, which they're still learning.
Hi, I'm Aparna and I'm a social entrepreneur. My question is, do you decide which MPs to work with? Because a lot of them have criminal backgrounds. Do you filter that out and choose good MPs to work with versus?
We do, yes. We do have a pretty intense process in terms of, who we work with. There's a selection bias in the sense that if an MP is likely to want to work with you and commit with you, they probably do come from pretty solid and clean backgrounds for the most part. So we do have a pretty rigid background.